Imagine this: a boy, only 9 years old, walking onto a stage so bright it looks like daylight had been trapped indoors. The hall is packed, thousands of faces rising in tears, eyes sharp with expectation. Cameras swing to follow his small figure. The opening bars of the theme song have already faded, and the audience is waiting, restless, hungry. He clutches a guitar nearly too large for him, the polished wood reflecting the glare of the spotlights. His sneakers scuff the stage as he finds his mark. His shoulders are pulled up tight, as though the strap biting into his shirt might keep him from shaking apart. From the first step, you can tell. He doesn't belong here. Not yet. The crowd senses it too. Murmurs ripple, quick glances pass between strangers. A boy that young. How could he survive this stage, this kind of arena, where adults with hardened nerves crumble under pressure? He clears his throat, adjusts the guitar against his chest. The microphones are so sensitive that even the squeak of his fingers on the strings echoes through the speakers. And then, before he even begins, the first sound breaks the fragile balance. A whistle. Not sharp encouragement, but a sneer pitched into sound. The kind that cuts the air. It lands on him like a slap. His fingers freeze. He glances up instinctively, searching for the face in the blur of lights. But the hall is too big. All he sees is a shadowy wall of strangers. Another whistle follows. Then a laugh. Somewhere in the middle rows, someone yells, "Go home, kid!" The words, though thrown from far away, land directly in his chest. He hasn't even strummed his first chord. The cameras catch his face in brutal clarity. Wide eyes, the beginning of tears already glossing. He tries to blink them away, forces his lips into a tight line. He raises his hand to the fretboard again, but his knuckles are white, the fingers refusing to find their places. The guitar shifts against his small frame like an unwilling partner. The audience doesn't relent. Once one person breaks the line, others follow. Nervous giggles turn to open laughter. A chant almost begins but collapses into scattered boos and mocking claps. The boy hasn't played a note, yet already the hall has chosen to eat him alive. He tries anyway. His thumb scrapes across the strings. The sound is thin, off-key, more squeak than music. Laughter bursts louder, bouncing off the rafters. His shoulders twitch. He tries again, another stray note, broken, uneven. The hall howls as if it had been waiting for this failure. One close-up shows his lower lip trembling. He bites it, hard, trying to hold steady. But the tears are coming. He turns his head slightly, as if searching the crowd for just one kind face, one pair of eyes that won't burn through him. But all he sees are silhouettes leaning forward, hungry for more. The judges say nothing. They sit in their seats, backlit, framed like gods in their high chairs. Their silence is worse than any insult. It lets the hall roar unchecked. The cameras swing again, catching the sweat already dampening the boy's hairline. His hands tremble against the strings, every vibration magnified through the sound system. A single wrong pluck rattles so loud it makes him wince. The first tear falls. He shakes his head quickly, trying to brush it away before the cameras catch it. But they're merciless. The image of his small face, flushed, wet, confused, fills the massive screen behind him. The crowd sees it and reacts with a cruel burst of laughter. It's not just a failure now. It's entertainment. The sound rises higher. Someone shouts, "Get him off the stage!" Another voice, sharper, yells, "He's not ready!" The hall is no longer an audience. It's a mob, a wall of sound battering a single child. And yet, in the middle of that storm, he doesn't run. His sneakers stay planted on the taped mark. His guitar strap still digs into his shoulder. His eyes dart once more across the room, searching, searching for something, someone, to anchor him. All he finds is noise. The stage lights blaze hotter, making the tears shine like glass. His lips part as if to say something, maybe to plead, maybe to apologize, but no sound comes. He lowers his head instead, staring at the frets. He can't see the strings clearly anymore. His vision blurs with the salt in his eyes. The hall, merciless, claps in rhythm now. Mock applause. Thousands of hands, slapping together like hammers, drowning him, stamping him down before he has even begun. The judges still do not move. Their silence is suffocating. The hall is in control. The boy is caught in the middle, trembling, alone. And then he lifts his chin. Just slightly. Enough for the cameras to catch the raw plea in his eyes. He looks again, desperately, into the ocean of strangers, as if begging it to give him just one chance, one face not twisted in cruelty. The noise doesn't stop. It builds. It builds until it feels like the walls themselves are part of the mob, vibrating with the cruelty of the moment. The lights hum, the cameras whir, and the boy, 9 years old, stands in the center of it all, unprepared, outnumbered, and drowning before he has even played. And in that unbearable moment, with the sound pressing down like a storm, the story of the night begins. Just wondering, where are you watching from? Write it down, bellow. The laughter doesn't ebb. It thickens, as though the crowd has discovered a new rhythm and intends to ride it. The boy's fingers clamp on the neck of his guitar, small tendons straining, nails digging pale crescents into skin. He tries to strum, misses the string, and the empty clack of plastic on wood booms through the hall. The mistake is magnified by the microphones until it feels deliberate. The audience explodes with laughter as if he had told them a joke. One of the judges leans into his microphone, elbow on the desk, voice carrying an edge so polished it gleams. Maybe practice a little longer before you humiliate yourself up here. The line detonates. The crowd howls, clapping, stomping, some even whistling as though they've been granted permission to unleash their cruelty. A man in the front row points at the stage and shakes his head. Up in the balcony, someone yells, "Send him home!" The sound multiplies. The boy doesn't speak. He stares at the guitar strings, hoping that if he looks hard enough, one will guide him to the right note. He scrapes a chord. It comes out crooked, half dead, half shrill. The laughter surges louder, feeding itself. He jerks his hand back as if burned, eyes wide. A close-up fills the big screen behind him, his fingers trembling, sweat glistening against the metal frets. Every wrong touch screeches through the speakers, amplified into humiliation. His small body stiffens as he forces another attempt. A note slips through, then collapses into a squeal. The crowd erupts again. Somewhere in the middle rows, a woman shouts, "Play something real!" Another voice cuts in, "He's wasting our time!" The audience is no longer individuals. It's one loud body, hostile, impatient. The sound isn't music, it's punishment. The boy's eyes flick to the judges, searching for rescue, but they offer none. One whispers to another behind a hand, both smiling, their stage masks intact. Another judge drums his fingers on the table, a tisk amplified to the room. "If you can't find the first chord," he says dryly, "you don't belong on the stage." The audience repeats the line like a chant. The boy drops his gaze to the tape at his feet, the bright X glowing under the lights. His sneakers hover on its edges like toes over a cliff. He doesn't run. He doesn't move. He only breathes in shallow bursts, chest rising too fast. In the upper rows, A teenager lowers her phone, guilt softening her grin. Next to her, a man keeps recording, laughing into the lens. On the main floor, an older couple exchange uneasy looks. A flicker of shame runs through them, but the mob's sound swallows it whole. The boy forces his fingers to the frets again. His lips press tight, hiding the tremble. He pulls an arpeggio, soft, careful. For a second, it rings almost true, a fragile bubble floating into the lights. The crowd shifts, sensing something tender. Then a heckler pops it. "Sing us a lullaby, baby!" The hall bursts with laughter. The bubble dies. The boy flinches, shoulders hunching as though he'd been struck. The next notes stumble, wrist locking, the final string squealing high. His head bows. A tear streaks down his cheek. He tries to angle his face away from the cameras, but the lens is merciless. On the giant screen, 20 feet tall, the tear glistens. The crowd reacts with another wave of laughter, crueler now. The host shifts nervously backstage, headset crackling. The stage manager signals toward the judges' table. The man in the center reaches for the big red button in front of him, the one meant to end a performance. His finger hovers, and the overhead screen zooms in, broadcasting the hesitation. The audience seizes on it. "Press it! Press it!" they chant, pounding their palms against their knees, clapping in rhythm. The chant vibrates through the hall, a ritual calling for an ending. The boy hears it. He thinks it's a countdown. His chest caves, and for a moment he looks ready to drop his guitar, ready to flee. He swallows, forcing the lump in his throat down, and leans into the mic. His voice cracks on the first syllable. "Can I?" The rest is trampled under another swell of laughter. He looks out one last time. His eyes skim the front rows, searching desperately for one human face that isn't twisted with mockery. For a heartbeat, he holds his shoulders back, not because he feels brave, but because he remembers that's how he's supposed to look on stage. The crowd leans in. The lights hum overhead. The smell of sweat, hairspray, and overheated plastic hangs heavy. Even the hecklers pause, waiting for the final collapse, the moment they can carry home as a story. The boy raises his pick again, hands trembling. His breath shakes against the mic. The judge sighs, dramatic, and lowers his finger another inch toward the button. A faint red glow ignites around its rim, pulsing like a heartbeat. The boy draws in air. The audience holds theirs. And from somewhere deep in the back rows, a shift occurs. Not sound, but silence. Heads turn instinctively, as though the room itself has changed shape. Something, or someone, has broken the ritual. The judge's finger hovers, the boy's hand quivers, and the crowd waits, caught between cruelty and interruption. The end seems inevitable, but the sound that comes next isn't a chord, and it isn't the buzzer. The sound that arrives is not the buzzer. It is quieter, stranger, a gap in the noise, as though the entire hall has paused for breath. For a heartbeat, the jeers collapse into silence. The boy's pick trembles against the strings, the tiny vibration amplified through the speakers like a secret the microphones weren't meant to catch. One of the cameras, searching for a reaction shot, drifts to the back rows. At first it finds nothing, just faces in shadow, phone screens glowing. Then it lingers. A man sits with his arms folded, shoulders relaxed, eyes fixed on the stage. No phone, no whispering, just watching. Chuck Norris. From a distance, he looks almost anonymous. Denim jacket, plain boots, no entourage, no sign that he's waiting to be recognized. But the camera lingers. The face is older, the lines deeper, yet the eyes are unmistakable. Calm, steady, as if he sees something no one else does. In the broadcast truck, a producer murmurs, Hold on that shot. The judge's hand still hovers above the buzzer, the red rim pulsing like a countdown. The boy notices it, his face draining pale. He lifts his pick again, purely mechanical, the action of someone obeying routine rather than courage. In the balcony, recognition sparks. A woman covers her mouth. A man in a baseball cap nudges his neighbor, whispering with urgency. The name spreads in ripples. It's him. It's Chuck Norris. The sound carries sideways through the rows before tumbling down into the lower levels. The hall changes texture. Chuck doesn't wave or smile. He shifts forward slightly, resting his hands on his knees as he rises. That single movement is enough. The audience gasps, then murmurs, then surges into a stunned buzz. Phones tilt upward all at once. A shout cuts through the noise. "That's Chuck Norris!" The boy hears it. He looks up instinctively, eyes darting through the glare of lights. And then he sees him. Calm, upright, unwavering. For the first time since walking out, his shoulders ease, just barely. He takes a breath that doesn't shake. The judge tries to speak into his microphone, tone dry and dismissive. "We don't have all night." But the line dies in the air. The crowd isn't listening. They're watching the man who has chosen to stand. Chuck steps into the aisle. The movement is unhurried, deliberate. People press their knees together to make space without being asked. Some lower their phones, realizing they'd rather witness than record. Others lift them higher, desperate to prove they were here. The camera crane tilts to follow his progress down the stairs, each step pulling the atmosphere tighter. He doesn't look at the big screens. He doesn't glance at the judges. His eyes remain on the boy. The distance between them shrinks, and with each stride the mood in the hall tilts further. The laughter that had defined the night feels childish now, something no one wants to admit to. The boy can't look away. He grips the guitar differently, not clutching but holding, as though it might still serve him. The terror in his eyes softens into raw confusion. How could this be real? A heckler near the front tries to shout, "Sit down!" The words clang hollow, instantly drowned by a rising chorus of shushing. The balance has shifted. The crowd doesn't want more cruelty. They want to know what happens next. At the judges' table, the man with his finger on the button hesitates. His hand trembles slightly. He looks from the glowing red circle to the giant screen showing Chuck descending toward the stage. For the first time, the authority at that desk looks irrelevant. Chuck reaches the barrier at the floor. A guard moves without instruction, unhooking the gate. The moment feels choreographed, though it isn't. The man simply steps aside, as if instinct told him resistance would be pointless. The lower rows rise, not clapping yet, but standing the way people do at parades when something weighty passes by. The boy watches, motionless on his taped X. His breathing steadies further. His lips part, but no words come. The cameras cut quick. A teenager wiping away smudged mascara. A man lowering his foam finger. An older woman pressing her hands together as though in prayer. The crowd is no longer a mob. It is splitting, transforming. Awe presses against shame, and awe is winning. Chuck crosses the floor. His boots echo faintly on the polished surface. He keeps his hands at his sides, his posture relaxed but anchored. The quiet moves with him, thinning the noise wherever he goes. He isn't commanding silence. It follows him. The boy swallows. For the first time, the guitar strap doesn't look like a chain around his shoulders. His pick stops trembling. His eyes track Chuck's approach like a lifeline drawing closer. The judge inhales sharply into the microphone, ready to reassert control. But all that comes through the speakers is breath, naked, unsteady. It makes him sound smaller. He lowers his hand away from the button. Chuck reaches the steps. He plants one boot on the first stair. The hall tightens, a single body holding its lungs full. Phones rise higher, faces tilt upward. The boy stands frozen, waiting. The audience, thousands strong, inhales together, suspended on the edge of a moment that is no longer the boy's alone. Chuck doesn't hurry. He moves toward the stage with a steadiness that fills the space more than speed ever could. Each step is measured, boots striking against the floor in rhythm with the hush spreading through the crowd. What had been chaos a minute ago folds into silence. You can hear a cough in the balcony, the squeak of a camera crane, the boy's uneven breath hitting the microphone. The judges exchange baffled looks. One leans into his mic. "What's he doing here?" This isn't his show. Another forces a grin and adds, "Maybe he wants an audition." The joke dies before it reaches the first row. Even the usual hecklers hold their tongues. Chuck climbs the short stair at stage left. The floor hand doesn't block him, he just steps aside, headset sliding down his neck, eyes wide. Chuck crosses the tape line and stands just behind the boy. He doesn't touch him. He doesn't look at the judges. He simply turns to face the hall, shoulders square, voice low but clear. "I can't sit here and watch grown people mock a child who had the courage to stand here." No flourish, no raised fist, just plain words, and they cut deeper than shouting ever could. The hall stiffens. In the upper rows, a few clap instantly, sharp and fast. Others shift in their seats, guilt heavy in their faces. A woman who laughed earlier bites her lip and looks down. The applause grows in uneven bursts, scattered but insistent. The boy stares at him. His grip loosens on the guitar neck. He's still afraid, but for the first time since walking out, something steadies him. His eyes cling to Chuck's, and the panic softens into raw attention. The head judge clears his throat, trying to anchor the broadcast. "Mr. Norris," he says, voice heavy with authority, "this is a live competition." "We have rules," he gestures to the glowing buzzer, as if it were law itself. Chuck doesn't flinch. Silence thickens around his pause. The audience, suddenly aware of itself, feels the weight of its own cruelty. A teenager lowers her phone. An older man in the balcony straightens, eyes fixed on the stage. The crowd has been the predator all evening, but now it's being watched. On the giant screen, the split feed shows the boy's tearful face beside Chuck's steady one. No commentary needed. Just the contrast. Fear and courage sharing a frame. More clapping starts, stronger now. From the balcony a man shouts, "Let him try!" It rolls across the room, echoed by hands rising into applause. Still, not everyone joins. Some fold their arms, uncomfortable. But the balance is shifting. Chuck turns slightly toward the boy. His voice is softer this time, for him more than for the crowd. "You stood up." That's the hard part. He doesn't lay a hand on his shoulder yet. He lets the words do the work. The boy nods, tiny, almost involuntary. His breathing slows. The guitar rests easier against him. The judge at center leans forward again, trying to seize the room back. "Sir, with respect, this stage is for talent. Pity doesn't belong here." He aims for sharpness, but the microphone betrays the tremor in his breath. Chuck finally looks at him. His expression doesn't change, but the silence that follows is louder than any rebuke. Then, simply, "Talent isn't only skill. It's courage, and right now, he has more of it than anyone in this room." The words land hard. Scattered clapping turns to a rolling wave. In the balcony, people stand. On the floor, Others follow, slow at first, then faster. The noise rises, not jeering this time, but insistence. The judges exchange glances, realizing the show is no longer theirs to control. The boy looks from Chuck to the hall, overwhelmed. He still trembles, but the fear isn't the same. It has been cut with something new. Hope. His eyes brim again, not with shame, but with disbelief that the tide could turn at all. The head judge touches the edge of his buzzer. The red ring glows faintly, a reminder of authority. But his hand doesn't press. The audience isn't asking for silence anymore. It's demanding a chance. Chuck shifts his stance, calm as ever. "You start when you're ready," he tells the boy. "If your hands shake, that's fine." Mine did too. It isn't a speech. It's permission. The crowd, hearing it, exhales as one. Pockets of standing applause spread wider. The boy's pick lifts, trembling, but this time not from terror alone. The judges sit rigid, faces tight, caught between rules and the current that swept past them. The host waits at the wing with cue cards limp in his hand. Everyone knows the moment belongs to someone else now. And at its center, the boy holds a breath. The crowd holds another. And Chuck stands with the patience of a man who already knows how the night will turn. The silence doesn't last. The head judge, the one who'd been smirking since the boy walked out, leans into his mic. His tone sharpens, words clipped for maximum sting. "Chuck, you're a legend. No one doubts that. But this is a talent show, not a morality class. The truth is simple. The boy can't play." The remark lands heavy, like a hammer swung too hard. The audience groans, restless. Some clap in agreement, eager to get back to the script. Others boo, voices low, uncertain. The room splits. The boy stiffens again, his small shoulders rising toward his ears. The light of hope flickers in his eyes. Chuck turns his head toward the judge, unblinking. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Talent isn't just skill. It's courage. And this child has already shown more courage than anyone at that table. The words drop with surgical precision. For a second, the hall doesn't know how to respond. Then, slowly, people rise. First a man in the balcony, clapping hard. Then a young woman near the stage, standing with tears running down her cheeks. More follow, scattered, uneven, but growing. Their applause climbs like a wave. The boy watches, mouth slightly open, his pick frozen mid-air. For the first time, the crowd isn't united against him. Parts of it are standing for him. His chest expands with a deep, shuddering inhale. The arrogant judge tries to hold ground, forcing a smile that no longer fits his face. He taps his pen against the desk, voice cutting back through the applause. "We can't hand out second chances just because we feel sorry. If we do that, the stage loses its meaning." But his words are brittle now, fighting against the sound of clapping feet and voices chanting Chuck's name. His jaw tightens. The cameras catch him sweating, the gleam of stage lights exposing the crack in his performance. Chuck doesn't argue further. He moves instead. Crossing the last steps to the boy, he places one hand gently on the child's trembling shoulder. The gesture is small, but it redefines the stage. The boy's head tilts up. His eyes, wet and wide, lock onto Chuck's. "I'll play with you," Chuck says, just loud enough for the microphones to catch. "Let's show them together." The boy blinks fast, as if unsure he's heard correctly. His lips part, no sound emerging. His fingers hover above the strings, paralyzed by the enormity of the moment. The hall reacts instantly. Applause breaks again, louder now, rolling from the balcony to the main floor. Some people whistle encouragement. Others pound their palms against the barriers in rhythm. A chant begins, not the boy's name, not Chuck's, but a simple, steady beat of approval, an affirmation that the performance isn't over. The boy trembles under the weight of attention, torn between disbelief and a fragile spark of trust. His knees nearly give way, but Chuck's hand holds steady, a silent anchor. The judge's table becomes a study in discomfort. One stares down at his papers, avoiding the cameras. Another fidgets with her earpiece, as if waiting for instructions from a producer who has none. The arrogant one forces another smile, but his eyes betray him, narrowed, defensive, afraid of the ground shifting beneath him. On the big screen, the image is clear. A child shaking, a legend standing beside him, the hall rising to its feet. The contrast is unmistakable. The show no longer belongs to the judges. Chuck nods once at the boy, steady and calm. The child's breathing evens. He isn't ready to play yet, not alone. But the idea that someone will stand with him, play with him, plants itself like a seed in dry soil. His fingers flex against the strings. The applause swells again, unprompted, and for the first time all night, it feels like the crowd wants to see him succeed. The arrogant judge leans forward, trying one last time. His words come out thin. "We're not here to be moved. We're here to judge." But no one listens. The cameras stay wide, capturing the standing ovation building section by section. The boy looks out at the audience. Where before he saw only hostility, now he sees faces softening, heads nodding, hands raised in encouragement. His fear doesn't vanish, but it's no longer the only thing inside him. Chuck squeezes his shoulder lightly. "We'll start together," he says. "Then you take it from there." The boy nods once, emotion tiny but real, and the hall, still divided but swaying, waits for what comes next. A guitar appears almost instantly. No one sees who brings it, only that a stagehand hurries forward with a second instrument. Chuck takes it with a nod, slings the strap across his shoulder, and sits on the edge of the stage beside the boy. The sight alone redraws the night. A child on one side, a legend on the other, framed in the brightest circle of light. The hall exhales. Then it goes still. Chuck strums once, low and steady. The sound is warm, wrapping through the speakers like reassurance. He sets the rhythm, simple and slow, something a child's fingers can catch. He nods at the boy. The boy hesitates. His hand rises, trembles, then lowers again. Chuck doesn't rush him. Another strum, steady, patient. Finally, the boy presses his fingers down, plucks one string, then another. The notes are fragile, but they land. The hall leans forward. Nobody breathes. Even the judges stay frozen. Chuck plays on, shaping the rhythm around the boy's uncertain notes. At first, the child stumbles, fingers slipping. The sound squeaks, but Chuck's tone never wavers. He fills the gaps, turns every mistake into part of the song. His calm steadiness is contagious. The boy tries again. This time his notes align more cleanly. He glances up. Chuck nods, faintly smiling. The trembling eases. The sound gains shape. From the balcony, a woman wipes her eyes. On the floor, a child sits taller in his seat, eyes wide. The hall isn't mocking anymore. It's listening. The two guitars weave together, one grounded, one reaching. Chuck plays a foundation, leaving space for the boy to climb. Slowly, the child fills it. The melody begins to live. Then, without warning, Chuck softens his volume, stepping back musically. He tilts his head toward the boy. The message is clear. It's yours now. The boy blinks, startled, but then he plays. A clean run of notes, delicate but sure. The hall gasps. He keeps going. The melody grows, Not flawless, but alive, brimming with courage. Chuck watches, steady, no interference. He lets the child have the center. And in that moment, the boy does what seemed impossible an hour earlier. He plays solo. His back straightens. His pick strikes truer. His small fingers, once rigid, move freely across the frets. He doesn't look at the judges. He doesn't look at the crowd. His eyes are fixed on the guitar, on the music finally flowing out of him. The hall rises. At first a few stand, clapping softly, but soon the wave spreads. It's not forced. It's recognition. The same people who booed now stand on their feet, applauding with faces transformed. The cameras cut to the judges. Their composure is shattered. One stares blankly, lost for words. Another rubs her temple as though trying to explain the unexplainable. The arrogant one forces a smirk, but his eyes betray unease. The boy finishes with a final chord that rings longer than it should, hanging in the rafters before dissolving into thunderous applause. He gasps, almost laughing, staring at his own hands as if they belong to someone else. Chuck stands, gently removing the guitar, and helps the boy rise too. Together, they face the audience. The hall is already on its feet, clapping, cheering, crying. Some wave their phones in the air like stars. Others simply press their hands to their chests. The boy can't hold back. A tear falls, but this time it carries relief. He lets it run down his cheek, smiling wide. Chuck raises the microphone. The applause softens but doesn't die. He waits until the hum of lights is audible. Then he speaks. Remember this. Strength doesn't make someone a legend. Courage does. The courage to walk onto a stage when the world is against you. The hall erupts again, louder than before. People cry openly. Strangers hug each other. The cameras catch faces shining, jaws dropped in awe. On the judges' table, the arrogant one fumbles with his notes, pretending to shuffle papers. He can't look up. The boy stands tall beside Chuck, clutching his guitar, no longer trembling. The cameras frame them together, legend and child, united not by victory, but by defiance. And in the spotlight, Chuck lowers the microphone, steady as ever, while the boy's smile tells the entire story. He came here alone, but he will leave believing.